Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Today, we're switching gears just a little bit, and we're talking with April Melvin, and she's an insurance broker with Global Green Insurance Agency. So thanks for being here, April.
Thanks for having me.
How long have you been in the insurance industry?
I kind of don't want to say, it might age me a little bit, but no, this is my 11th, I'm ending up my 11th, starting my 12th year.
Nice. So we brought April on because I know some of you have probably been contacted. I have by emails, pamphlets, things like that from our insurance company on special things that they're doing to help folks during the pandemic, either with their health or their mental health. So April, can you talk a little bit about what some of those things are?
Yeah, absolutely. So, a lot of carriers have been extremely proactive. I'm actually shocked at how quickly these large carriers have moved in response to the pandemic. So they've done, a lot of just education and reaching out. A lot of them have nurse helplines and telemedicine. So they're trying to be more proactive. Everybody, I think anxiety levels are high anyway. So I appreciate them being so proactive instead of reactive to what's going on.
Right. And those telehealth appointments, I know I participated in my first one yesterday, seemed to run really smooth. Have you gotten any feedback about how everyone is not dealing with those, how they're navigating those? Are they having issues with that?
No, it's actually shocking how easy people seem to be transitioning to it. And, just across the board, I think we are getting used to having more of a virtual visit, if you will, with our providers. And I think it's going very well. That ability to, be a little bit more present at work. It's much easier to, carve out a time period during the day than to take off, drive to an appointment, have the appointment, then drive back. And so I think the time has been a lot easier, and I haven't heard any negativity as far as the quality of the visits or not getting the care that they would expect from those.
That's great. That's good to hear. Have you had a lot of your clients talking to you about doing the telehealth visits with mental health? Like, have you seen an increase in that since this pandemic has started?
I've had a couple ask me about it. I don't know whether or not they have utilized the ones that have asked me. I've had some that have voluntarily told me that they have used them. So it's kind of a mixture. I do think they appreciate it. I think they really like the ease. We're all so comfortable with our phones. We're used to going and FaceTiming anyway. And so it just makes a lot of sense to have that personal connection that way.
Right. I know that like some car insurance agencies and things like that have given refunds or like kickbacks during this pandemic. Have we seen that with the health industry as well?
We have not, which makes a little sense given that the reason why the auto carriers were providing those kickbacks is because utilization went way down. We weren't going anywhere. So with less cars on the road, less people in their cars, and the mileage was a lot lower, they felt it was completely justifiable to provide those kickbacks. The utilization for the health is still the same. What we are seeing, though, is that a lot of health carriers are making the care that people need for COVID. We're seeing them being covered without having to worry about deductibles and that sort of thing, which is pretty nice.
That is great. And I didn't even think about that. Of course, this is not my realm that I live in, so I didn't even think about that as being an issue. So what is coming down from the insurance companies about, is there any news on vaccine or anything like that you've heard of?
Yeah, they are gearing up for it. And I have to tell you, I am so excited. I mean, I'm sure everyone has heard we've got Pfizer and Moderna now in the running. So those are coming out. My understanding is vaccines are going to be available at no charge. So, so fantastic that they are, moving so quickly to get these vaccines out to the general public. I think it's great.
The no charge, but is that from the actual pharmaceutical company, or is that insurance companies are taking?
That's I think that's more from the pharmaceutical, although I do think the insurance companies are gonna, want to participate in that. So
Good. Yeah, definitely. That'll be something nice to get their clients what they need. So, and talk a little bit about what you do, because I know we use you, obviously, and you kind of, I was thinking of it today, you're kind of like a counselor for insurance policies. I mean, yeah, you kind of talk to the individual and see what they're looking for.
absolutely. So insurance is very complicated, especially health insurance. And, with the volatility in the market with so much changes, I think it's made it even more challenging. It's also provided a lot of opportunities for people to try to do it themselves online. And I would just encourage people to not do that. There's so much misinformation out there, and maybe not even necessarily misinformation, just misleading information about certain plans. So what I do is when a client has questions about health insurance, they sit down with me either in my office or virtually, and we go through their unique situation. I explain all of the different options available to them, and then they pick the plan that makes the most sense for their situation. Same thing with groups. We look at the group and decide what would make the most sense, and yeah, help them pick I feel like I just help them pick the right plan for them.
Mhm. Yeah, I know. Like we went back and forth when we did this too, and it's nice to have that expert opinion guiding our choices. It made everything a lot more smooth. So, if you could give people watching just like one or two tips when it comes to picking health insurance or the right plan. And I know
Sure.
that's really broad.
It is really broad. So let me see. What are some health insurance tips? So I think I'm a little biased, but I think tip number one is finding a broker that you can sit down and review it with. I mean, there's so many different ways to look at it, from, the pharmaceutical side, to the network side, to the cost. I mean, the cost is absolutely important when looking at this. And sometimes when you're in the middle of it, you can't see outside of it. For instance, I had a sweet client. He's getting ready to turn 65, which he's going to love Medicare. I'm excited to put him on a Medicare plan. It's going to be so good for him. But until then, he's got to get a fully insured individual plan through the marketplace. Well, the plan that I want to put him on for his prescriptions, his doctor isn't in network. And so he's thinking I shouldn't do that plan. And I'm having to coach him. No. It's more important for you to get the pharmaceutical coverage you need as a type 2 diabetic. We can figure out the doctor situation. And so again, sometimes you're so in it that it's hard to see all the different moving parts. So I think tip number one, find somebody that you trust that you can sit down and go through this with. And then tip number two, do not Google it. So many people are like, have you heard of this insurance? And I'm like, no, Google it. It's not a thing. This is so many people get what's called an indemnity plan. It's basically an Aflac plan. Not that there's anything wrong with Aflac, there's not. But they're getting that thinking they're getting insurance, and they're not getting insurance. And many a person has sat across from me, and I have had to give them some bad news and move them very quickly to an actual health insurance product. But
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you so much for all of the information and for the tips and tricks. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I could talk about insurance all day, which makes me really boring. So,
well, no, not when we need you at all.
True. That's true.
And I will drop April's website into the comments. So if you want to contact her, you absolutely can. And if you're not in the area, she can probably help you out or recommend somebody else that you can talk to as well. Absolutely. So again, thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Lesha.
Bye-bye.
Bye.